Alright, so in this video, we'll be discussing about cooperatives, so in general, and then specifically later on about credit cooperatives. So we have here an issuance from the Cooperative Development Authority, or CDA. Essentially, they are the regulatory body supervising, monitoring the registration and operations of all cooperatives here in the Philippines. Okay, so for the definition first, what is a cooperative? A cooperative is an autonomous and duly registered association of persons with a common bond of interest who have voluntarily joined together to achieve their social, economic, and cultural needs and aspirations by making equitable contributions to the capital required, patronizing their products and services, and accepting a fair share of risk and benefits of the undertaking in accordance with the universally accepted cooperative principles. Okay, so in layman's term, essentially cooperative from the word cooperation. So we have here people who have essentially the same values and the same understanding of business and the difficulties of running one, and so they join together and then they contribute certain amounts of money into the fund, and they do understand that they're running a cooperative not for profit but simply to provide the needs of the members. So for example, you have a community and it's hard for them to access certain products or services. So what they do is they would have someone get the products from either the manufacturer or some other place, and then they bring it to the community, and so it could be the members of the cooperative who would be able to benefit from that by bringing the product or service closer to the community, or it's also possible that they would allow that product or service to be accessible to everyone else in the community, not just for the cooperative members. Okay, so mainly that's how cooperatives started. Okay, but nowadays, of course, with products and services being more accessible, so there are other reasons on why cooperatives are being established, right? But nowadays, more of them are about again, we'll be centering on credit cooperatives later on, right? And I think at the latter part of this issuance, we will also be discussing the different types of cooperatives. Okay, a cooperative is different from a corporation. They are not registered with SEC, right? SEC is the regulatory authority for partnerships and corporations. So cooperative is different. They are not stock corporations. What they call the members, the people who are part of the cooperative are called members. Okay, and then they contribute money to the fund, and then they also have some sort of profit sharing at the end of every financial year. So if they resulted in a profit, then the profit would be divided to the members as well, dependent on the balance or their contribution, okay, to make it fair. So it's not divided equally, but depending on how much each member has contributed to the fund. Okay, so they voluntarily join together. So sometimes there would be people who would be volunteer workers for the cooperative. You know, someone would be managing it for an honorarium, not exactly a salary. Okay, so it's essentially a much lower amount of money because again, they're there for providing benefits to the cooperative, to the community. Okay, so they're not there for the money. All right. So they would accept to, work or provide their services to the cooperative at a smaller compensation, all right? And then sometimes those who work for cooperatives are, of course, the members as well, right? So you have your manager, you have your bookkeeper, you have your, if there's a store, then store attendant or keeper, okay, things like that. Okay, whatever needs to be done in a specific cooperative, so most of it are done by the members themselves, right? In a way so that they could, they won't need to pay other people, all right, who might not accept a small amount of, honorarium. So they do it themselves normally, all right? And then they also patronize their products and services. So especially if it's a cooperative like a store or a credit cooperative, then normally the members would patronize their products and services. So if there's a different store nearby, so of course you have to get your products, get your needs from your cooperative, and not go some other place else. Okay, some other place. Okay, and then they accept a fair share of risk and benefits of the undertaking in accordance with the universally accepted cooperative principles. Later, we'll also be discussing those principles. Okay, so the risk, sometimes there would be regulations. Cooperatives cannot, let's say, charge high rates of interest, so they do have limits as well. So sometimes it's a little, not really a risk, but it's not they're not really profit oriented. So in a way, the revenue that they could get is much lower than commercial businesses, okay, that are really there for the profit, right? And then for the benefits, of course, if they resulted in profit at the end of each year, then that would be shared among the members. Okay. CDA, Cooperative Development Authority, lead government agency mandated by virtue of RA 9520, Philippine Cooperative Code of 2008, to promote the viability and growth of Philippine cooperatives. It is the only government agency that registers cooperatives. Okay. Objectives and goals of a cooperative. The primary objective of every cooperative is to help improve the quality of life of its members. So toward this end, the cooperative shall aim to first, they can provide goods and services to its members to enable them to attain increased income, savings, investment, productivity, and purchasing power, and promote among themselves equitable distribution of net surplus through maximum utilization of economies of scale, cost sharing, and risk sharing. Okay. Second, provide optimum social and economic benefits to its members. So for example, if it's a store, normally the goods are provided at a much cheaper price, or the profit margin is not that high, and so it benefits the members because the products are cheap. They could get them for a much cheaper price. Sometimes if it's open to other people who are not members of the cooperative, they do charge their regular or the market price to the general public, and then to the members they do charge discounted prices, the much lower or much cheaper. Okay, as long as it's not going to go below the cost, of course. Okay, and then teach them efficient ways of doing things in a cooperative manner. Normally, they have a general assembly every year, and each member of a cooperative are normally taught how the cooperative is going to work, because you can't have any misunderstanding here. You can't demand this and that when they are, against the principles of cooperation or cooperative. So in a way, they do conduct seminars as required as well by CDA, and then normally the members are made aware of the operations, of the financials, on what exactly is going on in the cooperative. All right. And sometimes they do provide livelihood programs as well, other things that could help the members. Okay, other programs that could help the members. Number 4, propagate cooperative practices and new ideas in business and management. Okay, so they can innovate in their operations as well. They can implement new things like that. Number 5, allow the lower income and less privileged groups to increase their ownership in the wealth of the nation. Okay, so normally cooperatives are made by people in poor communities in a way. And so, they pull their resources together so that they could attain their needs, or they could provide for their needs. And in a way, it would allow them to earn money. And by earning through the cooperatives, they would increase, they would contribute in the, wealth of the nation and their ownership in that, right? Number 6, cooperate with the government, other cooperatives, and people-oriented organizations to further the attainment of any of the foregoing objectives. So sometimes they do partner with, other cooperatives or with the CDA or with LGUs and GOs. Okay, they are allowed to do that, especially if the goals and objectives of the organizations or the involved organizations are aligned or similar, right? Privileges enjoyed by cooperatives. Cooperatives shall enjoy the privilege of depositing their sealed cash boxes or containers, documents, or any valuable papers in the safes of the municipal or city treasurers and other government offices free of charge, and the custodian of such articles shall issue a receipt acknowledging the articles received duly witnessed by another person. So they do have these privileges, but I think for the most part, if there is an available bank nearby in the community, then normally most cooperatives would put their money in the banks, right? But if there is no available bank nearby, then they can put their money into safe boxes, safe deposit boxes in the municipality or city treasurer's office, the LGU. Secondly, cooperatives organized among government employees, notwithstanding any law or regulation to the contrary, shall enjoy the free use of any available space in their agency, whether owned or rented by the government. So normally cooperatives, so let's say if they are a cooperative established by employees of a certain company or agency, then most of the time the office of the cooperative will be registered at the place of business, right? So if it's a private company, normally the address of the co-op is also the address of that company. If it's a government agency, let's say municipal government, municipal office, then the registered address of the co-op would also be that locality or government agency, right? And so the people who are running the cooperative, of course, they go to the company or they go to the organization to do their work. But sometimes, let's say during their break, during lunch break, or after office hours, sometimes they would do tasks that are for the cooperative, right? So let's say they're going to update their books, their list of membership, they're going to compute for the distribution of the income. So sometimes they do that while they are in the vicinity of the offices, and so they are allowed to do that naman. And usually they have the approval of the company or the organization or the agency. All right. Cooperatives renting special types of services and facilities such as cold storage, ice plant, electricity, transportation, and similar services and facilities shall secure a franchise, therefore, and such cooperatives shall open their membership to all persons qualified in their areas of operation. So sometimes, in the province, so we have provincial distributors of electricity. So they are actually run as cooperatives, right? I'm not sure who are allowed to become members, but they are cooperatives actually. All right, cooperatives rendering special. Already read that. Okay, in areas where appropriate cooperatives exist, the preferential right to supply government institutions and agencies rice, corn, and other grains, fish and other marine products, meat, eggs, milk, vegetables, tobacco, and other agricultural commodities produced by their members shall be granted to the cooperatives concerned. So in a way, part of the clauses in the RA is that government institutions should support cooperatives. So if they have any need for agricultural products, they have to seek out the cooperative first that are providing those products. Okay, who can provide those products? Okay, normally cooperatives are also established by farmers, agricultural landowners. All right. Preferential treatment in the allocation of fertilizers and in rice distribution shall be granted to cooperatives by the appropriate government agency. So if a particular cooperative is in that particular industry, line of business, or line of activities, then they would be allowed to get priorities in the allocation of certain programs. You have your government agencies, let's say Department of Agriculture, so they would these cooperatives that are operating in the agriculture sector, they would get preferential treatment or priority, all right, in certain programs. Preferential and equitable treatment in the allocation or control of bottomaries of commercial shipping vessels in connection with the shipment of goods and products of cooperatives. Okay, bottomaries, from what I understand, is some sort of usage of a vessel or transport, marine transport, something like that. All right, so they would get priority as well to use those shipping vessels. Okay, so if they need to transport their goods or products made by these cooperatives, then they would get priority to use those shipping vessels. Cooperatives and their federations, such as market vendor cooperatives, shall have preferential rights in management of public markets and or lease of public market facilities, stall, or offices. Okay, so if you're an individual and you'd like to sell at a market, I think, members of cooperatives get priority. So if you're an individual, it would be easier for you to join a co-op. Okay, and so it would be much easier for you to join the public market because again, there are certain government programs that provide priorities to cooperatives, really, and one of them is market vendor cooperatives, right? Credit cooperatives and or federations shall be entitled to loans, credit lines for discounting of their loan notes, and other eligible papers with the Development Bank of the Philippines, the Philippine National Bank, the Land Bank of the Philippines, and other financial institutions except the Central Bank of the Philippines. So for credit cooperatives in particular, since they are credit cooperatives, they extend loans to their members, charging small interest rates. And so they are entitled to loans, credit lines, for discounting of their loan notes with, normally these are government-owned and controlled banks, right? You have your DBP, PNB, and then the Land Bank, okay? But of course, with the exception of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, all right? They're normally exclusive for banks. Cooperatives transacting business with the government of the Philippines or any of its political subdivisions or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned and controlled corporations, shall be exempt from pre-qualification bidding requirements. So they can bid in government projects as well, and they have less requirements, compared to private businesses. Cooperatives shall enjoy the privilege of being represented by the provincial or city fiscal or the Office of the Solicitor General free of charge, except when the adverse party is the Republic of the Philippines. So I think this is legal assistance. All right. Then we have the types of cooperatives. First is the credit cooperative, one that promotes and undertakes savings and lending services among its members. So essentially, when a member contributes to the fund of the credit cooperative, that contribution is his saving, right? And then these pooled savings are used to lend to members who have need for them. Okay, sometimes they have loan classifications as well. So let's say you have your multi-purpose loans for whatever cause or reason, and then you have your educational loan exclusively to be used for the payment of tuition fees of the borrower or their family members or their dependents. And then others, they have specific, like what do you call this? Appliance loan. They're going to borrow money to acquire an appliance, either a refrigerator, an oven, or a computer, or whatever they need at home, right? So normally they have those loan classifications just to ensure that the loan is going to be used for their purpose, and sometimes they do require, receipts that the loans were actually used for the particular purpose that they were borrowed, right? So again, it generates a common pool of funds in order to provide financial assistance and other related financial services to its members for productive and provident purposes. Okay? So of course, they do earn money, just a little, by charging interest in those loans as well. And of course, small amounts of processing fees, things like that. Consumer cooperative, primary purpose of which is to procure and distribute commodities to members and non-members. So normally these are for communities that are far from the town proper, from the sellers or the big stores or the wholesalers, right? So what they do is that the co-op, they have a member who can go and acquire all the products they need in the community, and then it's something like a store. Okay, they put up a store and they bring the products closer to the community so that they can serve the members, and sometimes they also serve the non-members. Okay. Producers cooperative, one that undertakes joint production, whether agricultural or industrial, formed and operated by the members to undertake the production and processing of raw materials or goods produced by the members. So it's possible for rice or vegetables or fish or poultry or piggery, things like that. Okay. Processing into finished or processed products for sale by the cooperative to its members and non-members. Any end product or its derivative arising from the raw materials produced by its members sold in the name of and for the account of the cooperative shall be deemed a product of the cooperative and its members. Sometimes they also have, let's say, cocoa peat, lumber, things like that, right? So what they do is that they make products and they sell those products. Marketing cooperative, one which engages in the supply of production inputs to members and markets their product. Okay, so some sort of livelihood programs, they create or they produce little products, and then what the marketing cooperative do is that they find people or stores or shops or places that would allow them to sell those products to their place of business or to their customers. Okay. Service cooperative, one which engages in medical and dental care, hospitalization, transportation, insurance, housing, labor, electric, light, and power, communication, professional, and other services. So essentially, they do provide service. Okay. The one I'm familiar with is electric. So here in the province, normally the electricity distribution are done by service cooperatives, right? So other services that they can provide, of course, medical, dental, hospitalization. I think hospitals, some of them are also in the form of cooperative. MMG, if I'm not mistaken, is a cooperative, right? Okay, multi-purpose cooperative combines two or more of the business activities of these different types of cooperatives. So you can combine two or more of the different types of services that they provide, right? Advocacy cooperative, primary cooperative which promotes and advocates cooperativism among its members and the public through socially oriented projects, education and training, research and communication, and other similar activities to reach out to its intended beneficiaries. So normally, their main goal is actually to spread information, to teach, to educate communities, to educate people. Okay, they have a certain advocacy, so they have to define what advocacy they're going to promote, and then what they want people to learn. Like you have some financial literacy programs, so they go from community to another community, and they teach people how to save their money, how to use their savings to start a small business, how they can conduct a small scale businesses, right? So that's an example of advocacy cooperative. Next, we have Agrarian Reform Cooperative, one organized by marginal farmers, majority of which are Agrarian Reform beneficiaries, for the purpose of developing an appropriate system of land tenure, land development, land consolidation, and land management in areas covered by Agrarian Reform. So specifically for beneficiaries of the Agrarian Reform, right? Cooperative Bank, one organized for the primary purpose of providing a wide range of financial services to cooperatives and their members. Okay, so you have your credit cooperative, but that's somehow exclusive for extending loans to their members. In cooperative bank, so you have savings as well. I think card bank is an example of cooperative bank, right? And then they can also provide other types of financial services, okay, not just loans to their members. Dairy cooperative, members are engaged in the production of fresh milk, which may be processed and or marketed as dairy products. So probably among members who have cows or other animals, taking care of animals that produces milk, right? So they can produce dairy products. Education cooperative, organized for the purpose of owning and operating licensed educational institutions notwithstanding the provisions of RA 9155, otherwise known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001. So there are certain schools that are in the form of cooperatives, okay? Electric cooperative, very specific service cooperative. One organized for the primary purpose of undertaking power generation, utilizing renewable resources, including hybrid systems, acquisition and operation of sub-transmission or distribution to its household members. So example, you have your Casalco, right? Quezon Electric Cooperative. So they're very particular with the type of service they provide. Financial service cooperative, organized for the primary purpose of engaging in savings and credit services and other financial services. So in a way, similar to bank cooperative and to credit card. Although, again, credit cooperative is mainly for lending money to their members. Fishermen cooperative, organized for marginalized fishermen in localities whose products are marketed either as fresh or processed products. Health Services Cooperative, primary purpose of providing medical, dental, and other health services. Housing Cooperative, organized to assist or provide access to housing for the benefit of its regular members who actively participate in the savings program for housing, co-owned and controlled by the members. Insurance cooperative, engaged in the business of insuring life and property of cooperatives and their members. Transport include land and sea transportation limited to small vessels, defined or classified under Philippine maritime laws, organized under the provisions of RA 9520. And then you have your water service cooperative, one organized to own, operate, and manage water systems for the provision and distribution of potable water for its members and their households. Normally for the general public as well, in the area or in the community. Workers' cooperative, organized by workers, including the self-employed, who are at the same time the members and owners of the enterprise. Principal purpose to provide employment and business opportunities to its members and manage it in accordance with cooperative principles, right? And then you have your other types of cooperatives, okay, as may be determined by the CDA. Organizing a cooperative, so following are the information. 6 steps suggested in setting up a cooperative. Get organized. Must have at least 15 members, and then determine the common problems you would want to solve and the basic needs you would want provided for through a cooperative. So essentially, you're going to determine what type of cooperative you're going to be, right? You may want to include increasing your production, marketing your produce, credit assistance, power generation, banking or insurance, or other similar needs. So determining your problems and needs will also help you classify the kind of cooperative you will be organizing. Even before a cooperative is set up, a dedicated core group people who will do all the organizational and paperwork is a must. From this core group, working communities may be formed to set things moving. These communities may include membership, finance, executive, secretariat, to name a few, alright? So organization of the business first. Secondly, prepare a general statement called an economic survey. This statement will help you measure your cooperative's chances of success. So essentially, you're going to verify if there is really a need for that particular product or service that your cooperative is going to provide. Some sort of feasibility study, right? Draft the cooperative's bylaws. The bylaws contain the rules and regulations governing the operation of the cooperative. So this must be known, right? Even in, registration of corporations, bylaws are required. Draft the articles of corporation. So in corporation, there's article of incorporation. So here they have articles of corporation, mandatory contents of the articles of corporation, name of the cooperative must include the word cooperative, purpose or purposes and scope of business of the cooperative, term of existence of cooperative, how long are you going to operate, area of operation and the postal addresses of the registrant cooperators, common bond of membership, names of the directors who shall manage the cooperative, amount of share capital, minimum, maximum, authorized. Okay, the names and residences of its contributors, type of cooperative, whether it is primary, secondary, or tertiary. All right. Fifth, secure bond for accountable officers. The accountable officers normally are the treasurer and the manager. The amount of the bond is to be decided upon by the board of directors based on the initial net worth of the cooperative, which includes the paid-up capital, membership fees, and other assets of the cooperative at the time of registration. And then lastly, register your cooperative with the CDA. Okay. The documents to be submitted, 4 copies of the economic survey, articles of cooperation, and bylaws duly notarized, bonds of accountable officers, directors, officers, and employees handling funds, securities, or properties in behalf of the cooperative. Okay, and then a sworn statement of the treasurer duly notarized showing that at least 25% of the authorized share capital has been subscribed, and then at least 25% of the total subscription has been paid. Paid-up capital must not be less than 2,000 pesos. It must be noted that no member may own more than 20% of the subscribed share capital, and each share must not be less than 1 pesos. Okay, so I have the conditions here for the capitalization. Where to register your cooperative? The CDA is the only government agency mandated to register all types of cooperatives. Main office, I'm not sure if it's still there, Quezon Avenue, Quezon City. To facilitate the flow of its services, extension offices have been set up. So normally they do have regional offices or municipal offices, right? Okay, CDA memorandum, type of cooperative, they have additional, laboratory cooperatives, primary, secondary, and then tertiary. Paid-up capital, so they have these requirements. And then the fees, no registration fees. If you're a primary cooperative, 500 pesos, 1/10 of 1% of the paid-up capital, paid-up share capital. Secondary cooperatives, paid-up capital, 2,000 to 500,000 or 500,000 and up. 1,000 ang fees, and or 1/10 of 1% of the paid-up share capital. If tertiary cooperative, I think this one, 500,001 and up, is for tertiary cooperatives. Okay, and then you have 3,000 for the fees. Okay, primary cooperatives, I think that's, sorry, what's this? Why is this like this? Okay, it's a bit confusing, but anyway, you can just check with the CDA website as well, alright? Okay, so you can register the co-op with the CDA extension office nearest the location of the cooperative, right? So they have this. Okay, and then we have here an article from NCBA. Okay, and then we're just going to discuss how cooperatives work and then the principles, right? So essentially for the operation, so again, they pool their funds, and then they use that fund for whatever purpose they are organized for. But for credit cooperatives, so it's to extend credit to their members, okay, to lend the money to their members who need the financial assistance. And then normally the members would also be handling the management of the business, recording, preparing the vouchers for the release of the loans, for what they call this, processing the applications for loans, and then payment for whatever permits and licenses that are needed, transacting with the CDA, with the BIR, with the municipal office, for the mayor's permit if it's required, and other, let's say going to the bank to deposit the money, things like that. Normally it's done by the members. They no longer hire other people, because essentially they are not being paid a full salary. Normally they are only given some sort of honorarium for their service to the cooperative, right? Why are people who are members of a food co-op willing to voluntarily donate their time to work at the co-op? In part because of the community focus of a cooperative and the values behind co-ops. Among those values are democracy, self-help, self-responsibility, equity, equality, and solidarity. So essentially, profit-oriented people have no place for co-op, okay, because they would be disruptive, because cooperatives are normally not for profit, but mostly to provide the needs and to help the people, the community, the members, okay. People who join cooperatives or who are among the founding members of a co-op often have the same shared values, meaning they are willing to work together towards a common goal. One of those goals is to create a better world by working together and by shifting the focus of the business to place people over profit to build a more inclusive economy. Okay? Co-op ownership and control. The people who benefit from the products or services of a cooperative business own the cooperative business. Okay, so the members are the owners. In the case of grocery co-op, the people who shop at the store are owner members. In the case of co-op housing, the people who live in a particular building are members of the cooperative that owns the building. Okay. As equity and equality are among the founding principles of a cooperative, each member owner of a co-op gets one vote. So essentially, when they have a meeting and they are trying to decide on a particular venture or a particular decision, every member gets one vote only. Okay, the opinion of one co-op member does not have more weight than the opinion of another co-op member. So regardless of how much your contribution is to the co-op. Okay, cooperatives often elect a board of directors, the management. Responsibilities of the board of a co-op include ensuring that the cooperative is working towards achieving its mission, setting up operational policies for the co-op, and hiring any outside managers or other employees if necessary. Okay. Members of a co-op's board are members of the cooperative itself. They are typically elected by the board by a member vote. Some board members also serve as officers, such as president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. Okay, they have additional responsibilities and duties which are usually described and outlined in the bylaws of cooperative. Okay, so we have now the principles. Okay, we have voluntary membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and then concern for community. Okay, so let's define them further. Okay. Voluntary membership. Any person who is willing to accept the responsibilities of co-op membership and who wishes to use the services of a cooperative is welcome to become a member. Okay, but sometimes they do have conditions like I have to be an employee of a particular company, or if it's exclusively made for employees of a certain company, right? Or what do you call this? Residents of a particular community. Okay, and it's voluntary. Those who would like to join, willing to join and willing to support the goals and objectives of the cooperative, then those could be accepted into their membership. Next, we have democratic member control. So they are controlled. Co-ops are controlled by the members. They have control over setting policies and then making decisions for the cooperative. They get a vote. They have a say on how the cooperative is being operated or run. Thirdly, member economic participation. Members contribute to the capital of the co-op democratically and equitably. Most of the capital of a co-op remains the property of the co-op and it isn't redistributed to members unless they withdraw, they need the money and they are going to move out or something. So essentially, they cannot withdraw. The fund remains with the co-op to be used for its purposes. Okay, so they have economic participation because essentially to support the co-op, they have to what do you call this? If it's let's say a grocery co-op, so they have to buy their groceries from there, support the products and services of the co-op. Fourth, autonomy and independence. Co-ops are meant to be autonomous and democratically controlled, meaning they aren't subject to control by outside organizations, except for CDA. Okay, so they still have certain rules to follow. Okay, so that they would be ensured of their long-term operation. Education, training, and information. Cooperative provides education and training to members and board members to allow them to contribute to the development of the co-op. So cooperatives also seek to inform and educate the public about the mission and operation of a co-op, especially the advocacy cooperatives. Cooperation among cooperatives. So co-ops will often work together, especially those that have, similar goals and objectives, creating regional, national, and international structures that help to improve the community and create a better world. Lastly, concern for community. The policies approved by the members of the cooperative should help to develop the community around the co-op in a sustainable way. Okay, so it's essentially a long-term project, and their goals and objectives, right? Okay, so that's it for this video. So we have had the definition of cooperatives and types of cooperatives, their registration, and then the principles. Okay, for the credit cooperative, there's not much to say except that their main purpose is to extend credit to their members, to provide a source of, financial need to lend to their members. Okay, so that's it for this one. Thanks and bye.